The screen fades in with a soft electric hum, the kind that makes the audience lean a little closer without even realizing it. A spotlight blooms across the stage like a rising moon, and then the shadows fall away to reveal the figure who would soon make millions of people question what they believed was possible. This is the story of a magician who didn't just fool an audience. He fooled the judges. Every single one of them. And he did it with a smile so calm that the entire auditorium felt a kind of chilling suspense settle over their shoulders. Before we dive into the impossible illusions that left even the most experienced eyes stunned, welcome back to Havan, the place where unbelievable talent, astonishing stories, and iconic performances come back to life in full cinematic detail. If you're ready to relive one of the wildest, most mind-twisting moments in America's Got Talent history, then sit tight, because what Zak Mirz pulled off that night wasn't just magic. It was something else entirely. The cameras begin rolling backstage. Zak Mirz stands alone for a moment, breathing slowly, palms open, fingertips touching the edges of cards he had practiced with for years. Not the showy kind of cards that street magicians flick around for style. No. These cards carried stories. They carried memories. And tonight, they carried something more dangerous: expectation. The expectation of millions watching, the expectation of the judges who had seen magic acts from every corner of the world, the expectation that if he stepped out onto the stage without delivering something unforgettable, he would be swallowed by the noise of performers who came before him. But Zak wasn't nervous. Or if he was, he had mastered the art of letting fear dissolve under the surface like ink in water. The host asked him the familiar pre-audition question. "What are you going to do for us today?" Zak smiled, the kind of smile that quietly promises chaos. "I'm a magician. But tonight, I'm hoping to share something a little more personal." The word personal didn't just hang in the air, it sank in, heavy and meaningful. As he walked toward the stage entrance, he exhaled one final time and stepped into the light. The audience erupted into a sea of applause. The judges looked on with curiosity, especially Simon Cowell, whose eyebrows rose just slightly, betraying a hint of intrigue. Simon didn't get impressed easily. If anything, Simon was the final boss of skepticism. And yet, from the moment Zak stepped forward, something felt different. Zak introduced himself with confidence. His voice was steady, warm, and grounded. He talked about his love of magic, about how illusions allowed him to reconnect people with wonder and disbelief. But then he revealed something deeper. He had lost someone very close to him. His inspiration. His teacher. His guide. A loss that shaped not only his life but the path he chose to walk. Magic wasn't just entertainment for him. It was an inheritance of meaning. Simon softened. Heidi smiled with sympathy. Sofia nodded with connection. And Howie leaned in with that "I'm about to see something big" posture. Zak picked up the deck of cards, slowly letting them fall between his fingers like a waterfall of possibility. His voice lowered. "Before I begin, I need one of you to make a choice that will change everything." He looked directly at Simon Cowell. "Simon, would you help me?" The crowd gasped slightly. Simon, chosen as the first participant. This rarely happened unless a magician was extremely confident. Simon sat back, folded his arms, then nodded with a sly smirk. "Go on then." Zak held up the deck. "Simon, I want you to think of a number. Any number. Not out loud. Not written. Only in your mind." Simon nodded slowly, eyes narrowed. The atmosphere thickened. If this was just a trick, Simon would know. He had seen hundreds of mentalists before, and he was not someone who could be manipulated easily. Zak then gestured for Simon to hold onto the number. But then he did something unexpected. Zak turned around and faced the audience. "Before Simon reveals anything, I want to show you all something." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a sealed envelope. One that looked like it had been untouched for years. "This envelope has been sitting with me for a long time. It contains a message that I wrote before stepping out here tonight." He placed the envelope into Howie Mandel's hand. "Do not open it. Not yet." A wave of suspense rippled through the theater. The audience could feel something shifting, like the slow buildup before lightning strikes. Zak asked Simon one more time. "Have you chosen your number?" Simon nodded. "Say it out loud." Simon paused, then confidently said the number. The audience repeated it in a wave, whispering, then shouting, solidifying it into the air. Zak didn't react. Not a blink, not a twitch. Instead, he asked Howie to open the envelope. The tearing of paper echoed through the audience like a drumbeat. Howie pulled out a card. He froze. His eyebrows shot up. The other judges leaned forward. It was the exact same number. Heidi gasped loud enough to be heard across the room. Sofia grabbed her chair. Simon's jaw tightened, not in annoyance, but in shock. But Zak wasn't done. The lights dimmed slightly. Zak reached for a second deck, a deck sealed inside transparent casing. Simon, name a card, he said calmly. Simon gave the name of a card. Zak opened the sealed case, unwrapped the deck, and spread the cards gently across the table. Every card was face up. Except for one. Sofia covered her mouth. Heidi whispered, "No way." Zak slowly flipped the single face-down card. It matched Simon's selection exactly. The theater exploded with screams of disbelief. Even the judges who prided themselves on staying composed were breaking. Simon leaned forward, studying Zak like a puzzle he couldn't solve. His expression looked like someone trying to remember whether they had ever met this man before, as if there must have been some secret communication, some hint, some impossible detail he had overlooked. Zak stood calmly in the center of the storm he had just created, but he still wasn't finished. He asked Sofia to join him on stage. She walked up, still dazed. Zak handed her a marker and a blank card. "Sofia, I want you to draw something. Anything at all. Don't show me. Don't show the audience. You can draw whatever you want." Sofia turned her back, drew quickly, and held the card tightly so no one could see it. Zak mimicked her movements in the air, as if sketching on an invisible canvas. After a few seconds he stopped. "Sofia, show everyone what you drew." She revealed the card. A simple flower. Zak turned his invisible card around with 2 fingers. The exact same flower. The eruption from the audience was louder than anything yet. People stood up. Some screamed. Some laughed in disbelief. Some covered their heads like they had just seen a ghost. Sofia stumbled back, shouting that there was no way he could have known. Zak laughed softly, but even that laugh felt mysterious. Then he invited Heidi. She came to the stage with the same mix of excitement and terror. Zak told her to imagine a memory. Not a number. Not a card. Not a drawing. A memory. A real one. He closed his eyes. The crowd went silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. Zak whispered something, so soft only Heidi could hear it. Heidi froze. Her eyes widened. She stepped back as if something invisible had pushed her. She covered her mouth and said, "How did you know that?" "No one knows that." The entire room exploded again. Howie stood up. Simon leaned back, exhaling like someone trying to recover from a shock to the system. Zak opened his eyes. "I didn't know it," he said calmly. "You told me." The audience screamed again, unable to handle the layered meaning of that answer. Zak stepped backward and raised his hands, letting the energy swirl around him. But there was still one final twist, one that no one, especially Simon Cowell, saw coming. Zak turned toward the giant screen behind him. "Everything tonight," he said, "has been building toward a single truth." The screen flickered. A video started playing. It showed Zak preparing backstage earlier that day. He held a card in his hand. Only the back was visible. He looked into the camera and said, "Tonight, one judge will think of a number. One will draw a picture. One will recall a memory. And all of them will choose exactly what they were meant to choose." He flipped the card around. The number Simon thought of. Sofia's flower. A single phrase related to Heidi's memory. Heidi gasped so loudly the microphone picked it up. Simon stood up, clapping slowly, still staring at Zak like a man trying to solve a mirror maze. But Zak didn't bow. Instead, he placed both hands over his heart. "This isn't about fooling you. It's about reminding you that some experiences are meant to be impossible." The lights dimmed. The smoke curled upward like a living creature. And when the spotlight widened again, Zak Mirz was gone. The audience exploded into screams, applause, chaos, disbelief. Sofia yelled something unintelligible. Heidi kept shaking her head. Howie threw both hands in the air. Even Simon laughed, a real, stunned laugh, and said, "I have absolutely no idea what just happened." And that was the moment Zak Mirz became legendary. His magic didn't feel like tricks or illusions. It felt like he reached inside the minds of the judges and plucked out their thoughts like stars from a night sky. His performance wasn't just entertainment. It was a psychological storm wrapped inside a story of emotion, loss, destiny, and showmanship. What Zak Mirz did on that stage that night changed everything. Not because he fooled the judges, but because he made them believe that, for a moment, the impossible was actually real. And that is why his audition is remembered as one of the most mind-bending and soul-shaking moments in America's Got Talent history. If you enjoyed reliving this incredible story, make sure to stay tuned here on Heart Haven, where unbelievable talent never dies, and legendary performances are reborn every single day. Until next time, keep your mind open, your heart steady, and remember, magic is not about deception. It's about wonder.